How
Hello.
how's MJ? Hey, can I do my intro and then we I don't even want to have any small talk. Like let's do the intro and then just record this whole thing.
Oh my God, I love it. Like sperm of the moment. Let's do it.
Oh, did you
Right?
say sperm of the moment?
I said sperm of the moment. My mother might walk in the background, but we don't care.
I don't care. I don't have
Okay.
any sperm. Do you know that?
Oh,
Like
did you have a vasectomy?
yeah, in December 2020, I have no sperm. I'm just full of semen.
Congratulations.
I don't know. I'm just letting you
Stop,
know.
stop, stop.
All
That's
right,
amazing.
let's
Do
get
that.
into this. Save it all.
Okay,
Here we
let's
go.
do it. Let's
Stand
do
by.
it.
Stand by.
What up, Mike? Toronto. VK on the beat. Check. I'm in Toronto where you wanna get the city love. I'm from Toronto where you wanna get the city love. I'm in Toronto like we wanna get the city love. My city love me back for my city love.
Welcome to episode 1562 of Toronto Mic'd, proudly brought to you by Great Lakes Brewery, a fiercely independent craft brewery who believes in supporting communities, good times, and brewing amazing beer. Order online for free local home delivery in the GTA. Palma Pasta. Enjoy the taste of fresh, homemade Italian pasta and entrees from Palma Pasta in Mississauga and Oakville. The Advantaged Investor podcast from Raymond James Canada. Learn how to plan, invest, and live smarter. Season 7 of Yes, We Are Open, an award-winning podcast from Moneris, hosted by FOTM Al Grego. RecycleMyElectronics.ca. Committing to our planet's future means properly recycling our electronics of the past. And Ridley Funeral Home, pillars of the community since 1921. Today, returning to Toronto Mic'd to answer my many questions about the second season of Traitors Canada is Mary Jo Eustace.
Let's hear it in the house.
Woo!
I'm in the 6. Is that what Toronto's called? I'm in the 6.
We do call it that, but why are you in the 6 and not in my basement?
Well, that's a bit of a provocative question. You didn't ask me to go to your basement. Did you think I was in Los Angeles?
Yes.
Oh, no. I'm in Toronto. I'm in
Okay,
Toronto.
but see, I feel like if with a little more organization, we could have recorded this in person.
Yeah, but you wanted to get it ASAP. And when you speak, I listen. So when you said you needed me on, I was like, what time, when, where? How do I do it? Right?
When I say, Mary Jo, I want you to jump, you say, how high?
How high? And you are my producer officially.
Well, I've been watching this promo, like a lot of ground I want to cover, mainly
Yes.
about Traitors Canada
Yes.
season 2. But
Yeah.
like I'm literally biking and I see in like TTC bus shelters, I see giant posters and I can see you. Like you're just standing there, right? There's
Yeah.
Mary Jo. Like it's just I have so many questions about this, but I notice you're often billed as like podcast host.
I know. I mean, they're short on description for Traders Canada. It's like so general. People are like, what is that? Who is she? They didn't get real specific. Even I looked at it and I was like, okay. But yeah, TV host and podcast host. Is that what
Yeah.
they said it was?
Do they ever mention, like my question is, and again, I've got a lot of questions because devout listeners have submitted questions for you.
Oh, that's amazing. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm
And I
ready.
wish I do plan to become a devout viewer of this program, but I gotta just let you know off the top, I haven't
You've
had
never
time.
watched it?
I haven't seen it yet. I'm kind of sketchy on the premise. We're gonna cover a lot of ground.
Okay.
But do they ever mention senior bitches?
Well, they were supposed to. They were supposed to, because I did lots of testimonials for Senior Bitches, and that was part of my reason that I wanted to do it. Senior Bitches are award-winning, well, not yet award-winning podcast that you and I do together, but it's hit the charts. It's jumping up the charts again on Canada.
I noticed that.
In Canada, and we charted all over the world, and it's where we explore aging for women and men over 50. We talk about it all: sex, drugs, rock and roll. We've had great guests, and now it's doing well with the Traitors injection. So that's what you and I do together. That we.
But if I may, like as your producer,
Yeah.
we've been on like Senior Bitches
Hiatus?
has been on hiatus. Like when will you record more Senior Bitches?
I'm going to start doing that now. It's been like a really crazy time. And now that I'm getting back out there again and I've got lots of cool things potentially happening, we're going to get right back on it, Biatch. It's going to happen.
And what brings you to Toronto? Is this part of the Bell Media promo tour?
Oh, I'm in the private jet. Like they're flying me everywhere. Honest to God, if I get my parking validated, it's like a win.
Do they give you lasagna and beer?
Yeah, and a free pass to the funeral home. Yeah, so no, I mean, I just happened to be in Toronto for other things. So I got to do a lot of press for Traitors, and it kind of worked out well that I'm here right now. So yeah, I've been doing the rounds, and your podcast today. I'm going to do Jan Arden's next week. I'm excited about that.
Who's a former guest of your program.
Yes, several times, right?
And you guys have this chemistry where it's palpable. I don't know if you swing that way. I'm not going to pry into your sexuality, but
asking if I'm a lesbian or fluid or something.
But there's a lot of chemistry there.
We have great chemistry. I love her. She's absolutely hilarious and just a riot. She's got repeat immature humor like I do. So we do. And she's just a brainiac too, right? So she goes off on all sorts of different tangents. So we have wonderful conversations. So I'm looking forward to that. But currently I am single. Currently I am single.
Well, that was my next question. What is your current status? How long have you been single for?
A year.
Are you dating? Like, are you on the apps?
Well, remember when I was whoring it up in LA? I was doing all my dating for several years and we talked about all of it.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I have a Substack called Senior Bitches.
Yeah,
okay,
of course.
Substack so people can check in. And my last entry was, the title was, "To All the Men on Bumble, are you guys okay?" And I actually did like my experience on Bumble with 3 responses that I got. And I said to people, who would you pick? Like, seriously, because it's a shit show. It's a shit show out there. It is. You're married, you're happy, but it's scary out there.
Have you considered like meeting people in the real world? Like maybe you don't need the apps. You're Mary Jo Eustace. You're gorgeous. You're smart. You're funny.
Well, I live in LA and the men are infantilized and date their nurses, or there's actors, and I'm not doing that again. So the apps do not work for me. I cannot, as I call it, shop for humans online, which is online dating. I'm not good at it. I don't have good radar. So I've met people in the real world, and my psychic says I have 2 guys that are going to be coming at me that are going to be amazing. Amazing. One with kind of brown eyes and one with green eyes. So apparently that's around the corner.
That counts me out. I got blue eyes.
Yeah, you're married. Hi, 4 kids. But apparently that's coming my way. Who knew? Right?
Okay, so you're single. We're going to put that out into the universe. Mary Jo Eustace, currently single. New senior bitches are coming.
Yeah.
Why won't Jan Arden come on Toronto Mike? What's up with that?
Well, she doesn't like you. And, you know, we've talked about it ad nauseum for hours. She's like, that guy, is he the funeral home guy?
Are you still working with that Toronto Mike loser?
That Mike, have you asked her?
Oh, I could tell you. I believe I have. Yes.
Yeah.
I believe. I've actually asked through PR representatives. Like it's tough to get to Jan directly unless you're Mary Jo Eustace. Like maybe you need to be you need to broker this deal.
I'll be your Jan Arden bitch. I'll see what I can do for you, okay? I expect some free pasta and some of that beer.
Oh my God.
No, I'm not drinking. I haven't drank in 10 months.
Okay, well, don't bury the lead here. Why did you stop drinking?
Because well, 2 things. I'm unfiltered anyway, and when I drink, I get even more unfiltered, which is not a good thing. And I order online late at night, which is not a good thing. And it wasn't making me feel good. And I actually talked to Jan about this. I had her on my show several times, as you know. And I stopped January 1. And I have not drank since January 1. And I feel better. And I don't know if I'm going to go back, truthfully.
Well, as your producer, I think your Senior Bitches podcast is better when you're a little tipsy.
You think so? When I was drinking vodka shots, you liked it better?
So maybe I'll give you some, while you're in Toronto, I'll drop off some fresh craft beer from Great Lakes Brewery and you could just dive back in.
Nice plug. Okay, sounds good. I'm single, I'm not drinking or having sex, so honest to God, what's the point?
That was my next question. Are you currently having coitus, sexual intercourse?
No. Okay, no. Anything else? But I look good. I'm hanging in there.
Well, lest we forget, the cover art for Senior Bitches, excellent podcast hosted by Mary Jo Eustace, features you in a bikini taken when you were 60 years young.
Yeah, and I love that. And you know, I just did a campaign for this thing called Cell Sound in LA, actually. And I've got more bikini shots and hey, Mom, how's it going? I'm talking to my friend Mike here.
Hi, Mike.
My mom says
Hello
hi.
there. Does your mom know who I am?
Yeah, say hi, lean in.
Linen. Okay.
Nice
Hi.
to see you. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
She got me a croissant from across
Well,
the street.
Mary Jo, lest we forget, and I don't mean to
Yeah.
bring them up, but just because I see your mom there, you may recall when you were doing a podcast with your ex-husband, Dean McDermott. We had
Yeah.
11 episodes in the can, and there was an episode with your parents on it,
Yep.
which made me tear up when Dean was apologizing.
I'll get over it. Move on next. Done. We're done. Right,
I'm
Mom?
just sharing that
I
because
know.
Dean's gone bye-bye.
yeah, I would love to know your mom's thoughts on Tori's spelling in her.
No, we don't want to sully the podcast.
No.
All right, well, we'll move back. Can we go back to the beginning? When did you learn?
You have to calm down. You are so excited to have me on. You are a hot.
You're tough to book. Like you're a hot commodity. I'd rather have you on than Jan Arden. I can say that right now.
I'm texting her that as we speak.
She's right here. Jan, say hi to Mary Jo. Mary Jo,
Yes, sir.
let's go back. So Traitors is a very worldwide phenomenon.
Yeah.
This is a reality show that took the world by storm. I learned this from Ed Keenan. And
Yeah.
then Canada had a season that I was not aware of, but then I learned there was a season 2 coming because
Yeah.
I saw your beautiful face in the promo pictures and stuff.
Oh, that's how you learn. Okay.
Yeah, I didn't even know about Traitors Canada till I learned Mary Jo Eustace was going to be in the cast. But can you go back and tell me, do you audition for this? Like, because you also are a great actress. Like, do you audition for this? Like, how did you get on Traitors Canada?
Well, no, you don't audition for it, but Heather Muir, who's a casting director, she's reached out to me for The Amazing Race. I think she might have been casting director on Real Housewives of Toronto, which I turned down a dozen times. So I've been approached to do a lot of reality shows, and she got in touch with me in June, and she's like, "I'm coming at you with this thing, and I'm just going to float it out there and see what you think." And she said Traitors, and that is my worst nightmare come true, going on a reality show, like a competition show. And I was like, I don't know. And it's my son's favorite show. It's Jack's favorite show. He's obsessed with Traitors. So I told him about it, and he said, "Mom, if you don't do it, you're a total pussy." And so I was thinking about it. I was kind of avoiding her calls. She got me, and she said, "It's going to be fun." And I'm like, what the hell? I'm going to do it. It really scares me to do that show. I'm very uncomfortable, but I'm going to do it. So I committed to doing it. It was kind of last minute. I really, sat on it for a bit, and then I'm doing this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do it.
And where did it film?
In Quebec.
And when did it film?
It filmed first couple of weeks of July. First couple of weeks of July. Yeah.
And spoiler alert, but the only reason you're allowed to talk about this now is because you're no longer on the show if we're watching at home.
I got bittered off.
Okay, so how about this?
Yes.
I'm going to start reading questions from
Yes.
listeners of the program who love Traitors Canada Season 2 because they love Mary Jo Eustace.
Oh my God. My one fan. Let's hear what my one fan is.
Multiple fans. I got to start, though, before I got to tell you, Andrew Jordan learned you were returning to Toronto, Mike. So I need to tell people, if they want the A to Z of Mary Jo Eustace's illustrious life and times, go to the Toronto Mike archives. You've been on many times. And I mean, we won't mention his name again, but you and your ex-husband came on together when you were working together, and then we all know what happened. But you've been on solo. You've been on with Ray Don Chong.
Ray Don Chong.
A couple of times. Okay, but never in person. Even when you're in Toronto, I have to Zoom with you.
I know. I should have thought of your basement today. You in your basement without your sperm, whatever you were telling me at the beginning.
Oh, I didn't even record that. Okay, but yes, you told me something about sperm, and I reminded you I don't have sperm.
Yeah, you don't need to remind me again. Okay. All right.
Just need to throw it out there. Okay. Andrew Jordan just wants me to ask you, what's for dinner?
Yeah.
Because lest we forget, you really become like a famous Canadian personality because of what's for dinner.
Yeah, I did. It's funny because a couple of days ago, I met with the producer of What's for Dinner, Ira Levy, and we were reminiscing about What's for Dinner, right? That I did with Ken Costa.
Yeah.
And we were talking about the casting process because they didn't cast me in the show. They cast somebody else. They cast this more uptight person. The network thought I was too out there.
They cast Jan Arden, is that right?
No, they did not cast Jan Arden. Jan, did they? She says, "Fuck no."
She's I'm
Um,
not answering his fucking questions.
I'm not answering this dude's question. So I was so excited. I auditioned, and then I don't get the job. And then a couple of days later, I get a call late at night that said, okay, we're firing the other woman and we're bringing you on the next day to learn the cameras and start shooting the show.
Wow.
So it was like, just like an indoctrination by fire. And we just talked about like all the stuff that went on behind the camera, that would be such a great series because Ken was firing me left, right, and center. He sort of, had a Napoleon complex, like all the dynamics of it were insane. And Ira, like 25, 30 years later, the crew members, the directors, who all work all around the world say it's the funnest show they've ever been on because we had such a blast. I mean, it was just so great. And out of the gate, it was a success. This obnoxious, tall, big woman and this little gay man kind of abusing each other.
Right.
And if we were doing it now, we'd be billionaires. We broke so many barriers because he came out on national TV, like we did, lots of gay humor. It was really kind of a revolutionary show. And to this day, people reach out to me who are 30 or 40 and say, you saved my life when I watched that show, right? So it was very impactful. Then we went on to do He Said, She Said, which is another 200 episodes of sort of a different iteration. But, we've been on the air, like we're on Amazon Prime, like for 30 years.
Do you get any residual checks from that?
I got one big one and then dick all.
What's a big one for LAMJ? What's a big one?
Oh, no, I can't even say it was embarrassing. It was Canadian. No, it was not enough to buy a house. Maybe a plane ticket on Air Canada, but it was not a lot of money. But, we were just reminiscing about all the stuff that went on and the characters, and you can't write this shit. And just everybody just loved the experience. We just loved it. It was
Now,
just
Ken, shout out to Ridley Funeral Home. Ken left the party too early. But
way too early.
How long has it been since we lost Ken?
13 years, which I
goodness.
cannot believe. Yeah, 13 years. And, I went the final time to see him at the hospital and he was, just kind of hooked up to stuff, but he looked very young. I told him, I said, your skin, you look so good. You can let go. But it was just magic in a bottle, that's what it was.
And if Ken were still with us, is it fair to say in some iteration, you two would be broadcasting together or podcasting?
Yes. Yeah, we were also talking about when we were on Proud FM and we did What's for Breakfast.
Right.
And I would get yelled at like by the producer almost every show for saying diarrhea because that's my favorite word. And we just had a blast. So we would definitely be working together.
And who was the producer?
Well, not Bob Willett.
No, he was the program director.
He was a program director who ate hot dogs at 5:30 in the morning and didn't pay attention to us. Rob Basilica or Rob somebody, but we caused him to have a nervous breakdown, essentially. He went into rehab after. He just couldn't handle it.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that. I will, just for fun, let the listenership know that on Friday night, this is what, Thursday? So tomorrow night at 8 p.m., if you go to live.torontomike.com, the Bob Willett will be here with Rob Pruce from Spoons, and we'll be kicking out Harvest Jams, live streaming it, recording it for Toronto Mike. So Bob Willett is technically my next guest on Toronto Mike.
Well, say hi to him for me.
Well, I'm going to ask him about the hot dogs.
Oh, hot dogs and Ken's Chihuahua peed on the board. Anyway, lots of stuff.
Oh, and he does blame your daughter for his chicken pox. Like he's told me
I
the story.
apologize. Somebody didn't tell me their kid had chicken pox till after the play date. That's already got chicken pox.
So you had a sweater. I mean, I won't dwell on this. We got to get to Traitors season 2. Yeah. But there was a sweater you had left in the studio that your daughter had worn, and she had chicken pox. This is Lola.
Oh my God, that's right.
And Bob Willett, well, I don't know. He touched the sweater. And he got chicken pox, and he had never had it before, so he had no immunities to it, and it was a rough bout for poor Bobby.
Well, he got over it. That's the important thing.
But did he, MJ? Did he?
It sounds like he hasn't.
Did you ever party with P. Diddy?
I can't. Legally, I can't say anything right now.
That's spicy. That's a spicy meatball right there.
But I have 2,000 bottles of baby oil at my apartment, so I can't. I don't want nothing more than that. That's it. Oh, and Garth Brooks too. They're coming after him.
I didn't know that.
Some woman, yeah. Oh, but I think that's extortion.
Wait,
but anyway,
but just one woman, because wake me up when you get to P. Diddy, R. Kelly level. That's what it takes to get my interest.
It's atrocious, right? Just atrocious, horrible.
Absolutely.
Or-
Okay. So no, well, you pled the fifth, which you can't do in Canada. That's an American phenomenon. So you got to answer my questions. Okay, let's go to the next listener. I like this listener because Peter Myers is his name.
Okay.
His brother's name. He's got two brothers. One is Paul Myers, who was in a
Oh,
band called Gravelberries. You remember Gravelberries?
yes, I do. I know, I've met Paul. Yeah.
Okay, I'm not
What's Mike?
surprised.
And Mike Myers, is
Well,
his,
I don't know what he ever did with his life, but Mike Myers
nothing.
is the other brother.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think he did much.
He's probably in LA right now, wondering where you are.
Tried to get a job.
So
That's
Peter
what
says, what was it? This is kind of a generic to get us rolling here because we got to get
Yeah.
the Traitors to you. What was it like being in the manor on Traitors Canada? How did the contestants not see the Traitors going to their Traitor meetings?
Okay. All right. Well, I don't know if we're okay. Well, staying in the manor was a blast. Okay. Because it's like camp, right? Staying in the manor. And it's, in a really pretty, my room was bitchin'. I had a great room. I faced a courtyard, in the lake, and it was so we all had our rooms. We were escorted like we were toddlers, right? Because you can't say anything to places, right? Because they call it, I don't even know if I'm allowed to say what they call it, but they call it pineapple time. I just said that. And you can't communicate, right? You cannot
Is
communicate.
that code for cannabis?
Kind of. So you can't really, they don't want that to be happening. So you have your meals together, but you're not supposed to talk about the game. And they're very adamant about that. And they have a whole system at night to allow the traders, which I don't know if I can talk about, to go to the conclave. So we're distracted, right?
Wait, but you keep saying, I don't know if I can talk about it. So, but I think you can talk about it.
Why would you think so? You don't even know what the show was. So here's the thing. Okay, so at night, to answer your question, because we're all staying in the manor, right? And we're one room apart. You're not allowed to go out in the hall. They have security. You cannot connect with your other guests. So at night, they do stuff to get the traders out of their room to the conclaves and back in their rooms, so we can't hear or see or anything. Does that make sense?
Well, that's the follow-up from Lieve Fumka, who's an FOTM Hall of Famer. She says, how do they ensure that when the traders meet, the other contestants don't peek out and see who they are?
Because there is security in the hallways. If you open your door, you're out. Like, you are lectured. Everybody has an escort that takes you. So they want to keep the secrets of the game, right? So you can't, it's impossible. If you open your door, you're kicked out.
Okay, how about this? For those who aren't watching, are you able to tell us the premise of this show in like an elevator pitch?
Yeah, I am. Thank you. To you, who's never seen it. It's very simple.
For the listeners who don't know what the hell we're talking about, please establish the premise here.
Okay, so they take 20 or 22 people. They take them to a beautiful location, all right? And you are separated, no computers, no phone, no outside interaction, nothing, right? And you spend all your time together with these people. Then you meet, and then you go to the round table, right? So the round table is where you banish people. And you go to the round table and you put on a mask, and then the host of the show, the producers, pick traders, 3 traders. So you don't know who they pick, right? So before you look around the table, you don't know who's a traitor.
Right.
There are no traitors. And you put on your mask, you take your mask off, and then you know that there's traitors amongst you. Okay? So the premise of the show is this. That is the premise. So what you try and then there's $100,000 you can potentially win. So there's 10 challenges. There's a challenge every day that you can win. Okay, so here's a typical day. You get up in the morning, you have breakfast, all right? And then you do a challenge. So you work as a team together, you go to do the challenge, and you want to win $10,000 per challenge. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. You go to missions in the car, and you switch up your car all the time. And when you're in the car, you're like, who do you think's a traitor? Who do you think might be, right? And you form alliances to try and weed out the traitors, because nobody knows who the traitors are.
Right.
Except the 3 traders or 4 traders or how many traders they have. So then you do the mission, you come back to the manor, lots of people do lots of cocktails and spill it. And then at night you go to the table to banish somebody from the kingdom.
Right.
Okay. And you vote, that person gets banished, and comes up and says if they're a faithful or a traitor, right? And you want to get traitors. And then you leave the manor, you have to leave. And then here's the twist. Every single night, the traitors murder somebody. So I did not want to get murdered. So the next morning when you wake up and you go to breakfast, you're sitting there as people come in and you're trying to figure out who's been murdered. Does that make sense?
It does.
And then if you get to the end, if there's a traitor in the final 2 or 3, they win the money. Always the traitor will win. But if it's faithfuls, they get the money. But the traitors get the money if they're in the mix.
So you were a faithful.
I was. I wanted to be a traitor.
And you were murdered.
No, I was
Oh.
banished.
Okay, so help me out. You mentioned that every night there's a murder, but you weren't murdered. You were
No,
voted, like sort of like in Survivor style. You were voted
Yeah.
off the island.
I was one of the strongest, most liked players. They get rid of the strong players at the beginning,
Sure,
right?
right.
They don't want them coming. So what happened in my episode is I had made this alliance. Do you know Enoch Mumba? He's a football-
I have a client, Donovan Bailey. He was once the fastest man in the world, and we had him on as a guest on his podcast. So I had him on, and he's an Argonaut, a former Toronto Argonaut.
Yeah. And we hit it off. Okay. So we were like the Titans, right? And we're in our car ride sharing personal stories and we're bonding and all this stuff. No heat on me whatsoever. No heat on me. And then in the car ride, he thought I was a traitor. He actually thought I was on the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. And I told him I'm not on that show, right?
You have that look. You have that look.
So that's what he thought. And then the bros, as I call them, like Kevin was a bachelor, he's a stud. And these other guys, Enoch is like, she's a traitor. And he just had nothing to go on. And long story very short, I got word through my gays, they were coming for me at the round table. So before I went on the round table, I looked at Enoch, he couldn't look me in the eye. I'm like, ooh, this is going to go down. But I was on the list to be murdered anyway, right? I knew in my brain that could happen.
Right.
So when we went to the round table, I decided I'm going to go big or go home. And I got to go big. So I went really, really big. So I just came up with this wild theory and blew it up. And the whole table went insane. And there was drama and memes from it. And I got banished.
You went out in a blaze of glory.
Huge. And then I walked up and I was like, bitches, I'm a faithful. And then everybody's falling on the floor and crying and hysterical. And it was a shit show of the best order.
Wow.
So 2 things I wanted. I wanted to be on the poster and I wanted to leave with a bang. Because truthfully now, even my round table was vicious. It's just going to get more and more vicious. And if they edit you badly, I mean, you look bad. So I got out just at the right time. I'm happy.
And I'm happy that you're happy.
Yeah.
And you knew you weren't going to win this 100,000 because you're too strong.
Yeah, I didn't go in thinking I could win, but once I left, I was like, oh, I could have probably got really far because one of the traders really, really liked me. And I didn't see it as that. You know what I mean? Like that wasn't my goal. But then I was like, I probably could have played this. But you always have 50% chance they're going to murder you at night. You know, the traders can just say, we want her out. And that's it.
I think a lot of listeners who haven't been watching are on their way to Crave right now to check out what they missed.
Oh my God, it is hysterical. The round table. Oh my God.
All right, but I have a question. So you are a famous, in my opinion, okay, you're a famous person. You're Mary Jo Eustace. Forget the tabloid bullshit. Just the what's for dinner, what's for breakfast. What was the other one called?
He said, she said.
Yeah, that one. That branding I always forget.
Senior bitches.
Senior bitches. Like, you're famous. You just mentioned Enoch, okay? He won a Grey Cup with the Toronto Argonauts. Famous like he's a former professional football player. Is everybody like, how does it break down? Like, how many are like famous people and how many are like normies like me?
I'd say 6 or 7 or 8 were maybe kind of well known.
Right.
And then the rest were not. And Enoch and I, we love each other.
But he turned on you.
Yeah. And yeah, he did. And the edit is hysterical. It's so funny that, I mean, there's moments, and then the round table when he came after me, was amazing. It was just amazing. And when he found out I was a faithful, oh my God.
Wow. Well, here's what
You
I
gotta
want. I'm
watch
going to pitch this because this is what I want very much. If and when, because I have no idea, you've never told, obviously you've sworn to secrecy on everything and you've never told me anything, but if and when, if/when Enoch is eliminated from this game, could I have a Zoom with both of you?
Oh, I'd love it.
So
love it.
this is what I want, and I don't know how long he'll last. For all I know, he wins this thing. I don't know anything. I like it that way. But
Yeah.
when he's allowed to talk, you two join me and we talk about this, because it sounds like you guys were like an alliance, and he just sort of turned on my MJ. I don't know.
Yeah, he got paranoid. He fucked up. And he would say to you, like, you know, because we're in communication after, and he would say, "Oh my God, like, oh, this," he called me the sweetest lady. I'm like, well, that's a stretch, but still. But he said, I just
That's
can't.
quite the stretch.
A bit of a stretch. But our relationship was very strong. Very
All right,
strong.
so we're going to do that. I'm going to start teasing it that when we're allowed,
Yeah.
we're all three going to jump on a
Yeah,
Zoom.
yeah, he's a great character.
Yeah,
He's great.
I had good vibes from our Zoom when
I went out for lunch with
Donovan
him
talked
and
to
his wife. His wife is just a babe and wonderful. So I really enjoyed. But then, you know, when you see it back, you're like, this guy was really going after me. Holy shit. It was like interesting. Because you don't know,
Absolutely.
watch it back, right? And you see.
No, that what's that like when you've done this in July and now you
Yeah.
wait and you wait and then finally these episodes are starting to drop. Do you watch it like as if you're a viewer? Do you get together with your son and watch it? Like how do you watch these
I was
episodes?
in Canada, I was in LA for some. I usually take my time and watch them the next day. I don't get in the group chats. I don't want to do that. And then I watch for the edit to see like the previous, what's going to happen. And they saved this as a big, huge shocker, reveal, surprise. So episode 3, I get so much airtime around it. And they were very sad that I left. Very sad.
Right.
But that's the way it goes.
Because they can't manipulate this, right? This is a straight up, like this is how
Yeah.
it ended. They can't keep you around because you're a good character. Because this is a game show.
Yeah, yeah.
There's
So
rules and stuff.
I will be missed.
I miss you already, and I haven't even started watching yet.
I will be missed. But it was a great experience. I loved doing it. I loved it, actually.
Well, I loved seeing you on those posters as I biked by. I would
so
wave to
great?
you. I would wave to you when I see
That
you.
is
But
amazing. I loved it. I was thrilled.
Leslie Taylor
Yes.
writes in, how real are the challenges?
Real. They're real. I mean, they have to have safety things in place, right? So you don't die, but they're real. And a couple of them were very intense because the weather was very hot. There was a few injuries. You know, you can get injured
Yeah.
quite easily. One of the bros, as I call them, like the Trojan horse, ran over his foot and like almost took his foot off. So you can get injured. They're very, but that was just, you know, you put his foot in the wrong place. But the safety guys and everybody are there all the time, making sure you're okay. You know, we go through stuff. They're very safe. But the challenges are spectacular. The guys who do all that, it is a blast.
Wow.
You know, because about 3 or 4 hours a day is spent on the challenges.
Right.
And they put a lot of time and effort in making them really spectacular and safe. But, you know, they're a lot of work. They're hard.
Yeah, and
For
the
sure.
bottom line is you're here to tell me they're real. So if
They're real.
Leslie's asking the question, there must be some feeling out there that maybe they're manipulated somehow, but they're real.
I mean, the last challenge we had to do was in mud, and we had to crawl under like barbed wire and go answer questions around explosives, right? So we had to do that, and that's real. Some traders opted out. They couldn't do it. They
Wow.
couldn't physically do it. So yeah, it's real.
It's real. Now you've
Can
alluded
you answer the phone?
I think that's Jan calling.
I know.
She's had a change of heart. She
I'm
wants
sure
to
it's
make her try to
Rogers.
make it you.
I'm sure it's Rogers with some price hike or something.
No, Rogers wants you for their reality show now. They're like, why does Bell Canada get the Mary Jo exclusive? So take that.
I would do it. And you know what the other thing is? I have to say, the filming and the lighting, very nice. Very nice. I'm very happy with it.
You look like a teenager on this show.
Yeah, teenager. That's the word I was going to come up with.
My goodness
18,
gracious.
19, sort of around there. So yeah, but the challenges are real, but they're safe.
Okay. So there you go, Leslie. You've alluded a couple times to the bros. I heard you say the gays.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So do you leverage the fact that you co-hosted a show with Ken
Yeah.
and you have a gay son? Like, do you
Yeah.
leverage this to get in good with the gays? As this is your words, I'm not calling them the gays.
Yeah. Well, the two, Dylan and Kirkland, who are my beloved gays, it was like this, right? Like we were attracted to each other immediately, and I loved them. And Kirkland was on Farming for Love, played the first gay farmer on that show, and I loved him, and we were great friends, and they did the edit to make us look like enemies, but we're great friends, we chat all the time. And Dylan is hysterical, and Dylan was like at my round table, Andy, please watch this for the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. This is her audition tape. Please take her. So Dylan and Kirkland were amazing. I love them, and they were just so supportive, even though they both voted me off.
Right. But they thought you were a traitor.
Dylan they went along with it, knowing probably I wasn't, but it's the whole thing.
But regardless, they know you're a strong player and they want the 100,000. So get rid
Yeah.
of these strong players. This is how
Yeah.
good strategy.
Well, I'm not going to say anything, but so they were like, you're iconic. So they loved
Right.
my round table. They were very supportive. I love those. And then the bros was Enoch and Kevin, who was on The Bachelor. Sweet, sweet guy. I threw him under the bus. Really liked him. And then there was Cedric, the comedian. Have you heard of that guy?
The entertainer?
No,
Oh.
he's Cedric. He was
Okay.
hyper. And
Okay.
then Aaron was another guy, and the bros all day were like, but the big bros were Enoch,
Yeah.
and Kevin, and another bro that got voted off was Chris, who was the star of Naked and Afraid. Naked and Afraid? Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Interesting.
I was kind of straddling both. I was sort of into both. I
Well,
was
you're
quite
smart.
popular. I was quite popular.
Well, I was going to say you're smart, but what episode did you get booted here? What episode was this?
Third.
Yeah, so it feels like the earliest exit since Tori Spelling was on Dancing with the Stars.
No, mine is actually not that early. Thank you.
I know.
But if you watch historically, they get rid of the really strong players
Yeah.
at the beginning.
Right. Which makes
And
sense.
then
Okay.
And then they carry along the weaker players to the end. They're no threat.
How is it decided who will be in which car and who will drive?
Oh, that's a good question. We decide. But you want to switch it up all the time, right? So Enoch and I had a car ride, just the two of us together, which was highly unusual. And I was in a car with my friend Dylan, and Netta, who's a traitor, tried to get in our car. And I was like, no, because I don't trust her. So we would decide at lunch, I want to be in your car, I need to talk to you, because they film it. So you're always switching it up, right?
Right.
So the players decide. And sometimes players get left out. They're like, no, you can't come in my car. And then they're going to talk about you. It's like high school, basically.
I love it.
Yeah.
You know what? I gotta get on this. Okay. Lieve Famke, do the contestants get paid a certain amount and then the longer they stay, they get extra money, like a bonus for lasting? She wants to know the payment structure here.
Oh my God, what is she, an accountant? Let's put it this way. In the States, those biatches make a shitload of money to be on the show. In Canada, you get a per diem.
Per diem. Okay, good. So you can get your Big Mac combo or whatever.
Yeah,
Okay.
so you can buy your gum and smokes or whatever. So,
Right.
and then, of course, you want to get the prize pot at the end. That's like the whole thing.
Well, on that note, so the follow-up is the money at the end that the final person gets, is that on top of what they're already being paid to participate? But you just explained it's a per diem.
It's
So
nothing. Yeah, it's
nothing,
nothing.
right?
It's nothing.
You get
Yeah.
more for being on Toronto Mic'd.
Well, I don't get anything for being on Toronto, Mike. It's
If you
kind of the
came in
same.
person, you would leave with the lasagna, the beer, you'd have a Ridley funeral home measuring tape, and I have a speaker. This is important,
A
MJ.
Ridley home, they give out measuring tapes to measure the body for the coffin?
Something like
What?
that. But
Oh
I
my
have
God.
I think this is sweet. I have wireless speakers. They sound amazing. They're from Moneris, so you can listen to season 7 of Yes We Are Open, which is an award-winning podcast from Moneris hosted by FOTML Grego. He went to Winnipeg, for goodness sakes. Maybe, I don't know where Jan's hiding, Calgary, I think, but he went out west and he captured some great stories from
It's a plug
small
for
business
something.
owners.
Did you remember I'm here?
Yeah.
Keep
Yes,
doing.
Yes We Are Open is a freaking great podcast, and I just want you to know it exists. Okay.
Okay, well, I guess I do now. Okay. So yes, so you
It's
want to
on
get
top,
the
yeah.
prize money. The
Okay.
prize money is sort of the
A
deal.
couple of quick hits from Live Fumka, and then I have to get back to Leslie, and then I have a YYZ Gord. But Live Fumka says, and again, I'm going to ask it as she wrote it because I don't know what it means, but what did you do when it wasn't being filmed?
Well, that's what I'm saying. When you couldn't talk about the game.
Right.
So you hung out with people, right? Like we had to have lunch, we had meals together. So but we were supervised. So we would talk about life and,
Huh.
but nothing, you didn't want to disclose anything. So we
It's like
would
you're
do
on a
that.
jury.
Pardon?
It's like
Yeah.
when you're on a jury, when you're at home, you can't talk about the case or whatever.
Right. So we would do that. And then if that wasn't going on, we'd be sent back to our rooms.
Hmm.
And again, no TV. I mean, if you had a book, you could do that, but your brain was a bit fried. So either, supervised by the show, not to disclose, and you got to know people that way, or else you'd be back in your room. Or the people who would go outside and have cigarettes. But
And Levy
they
Funk
want-
is so curious about this. She wants to know, what do you do at night? Like, what do you do at night? She wants to know what's going on when you're not on the camera.
I room hop. I just knock on every guy's door.
Wow.
You can't go out of your room. I think what the guy in season 1 did, and they got rid of him. You cannot leave your room. They have cameras. You can't go anywhere. So you sit in your room hoping you're not murdered, basically.
Right.
You don't have the most restful sleeps in the world because you think, am I going to get murdered? That's
scary to be murdered.
Yeah, it is. It's gross.
Speaking of murdered, so Live Fumka says, once someone is murdered, she's a big fan of this show, by the way.
I can tell. I can tell.
I got a note from her, like the minute this episode aired, I guess there's like a delay, right? Like, so here, the second day it goes on Crave, but the first day you got to watch it on CTV, I guess. Like,
And the Crave edit's alwa's better. Crave edit's always good. Yeah. It's extended by 10 or 15 minutes. So the Crave edit is always really good.
And you get swears on the Crave edit? Like you can say,
yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, you can swear on the Crave edit.
That's a pro tip. Okay. Once someone is murdered or voted out, did you have to stick around until the end of the show?
No. As soon as you're murdered, you pack your suitcase or banished and you leave. You leave the manor. I left the manor at 1 or 2 in the morning. And then you go to the hotel or the airport or wherever you're going. So no, you don't stay. You're kicked out. Literally, they escort you. You go do social media and do all that stuff. Then you go to your room. Then a psychologist comes to see you to see if you're okay after everything.
That's interesting.
And the psychologist was like, oh my God, are you okay? Because everybody came for me. And I said, yeah, I'm good. He said, that was intense. And he said, they were laughing so hard in the control room because it was so bananas. And I said, well, how did I come across? He said, so strong. I said, well, it make good TV? He said, great TV. And I'm like, I'm good. But yeah, they have a psychologist to make sure you're okay. And you leave immediately.
That's an interesting, wrinkle there, that there's an actual psychologist to make sure. Like, I feel like maybe 20 years ago, we didn't bother with that part.
Yeah. People used him because some people were crying all the time. And mostly guys.
I believe it. Could you just use them for all the other shit going on in your life that you need to talk about? Like, or did
I
you
actually took an extra 15 minutes with him just to run over a few things that were bugging me. But no, what was his name? Dr. Seymour or something. He was great. He was like, that was intense. And it was intense.
Okay, good. Well, I'm going to give props to who's a production. Who's behind this? What production?
I think it's Entourage Productions out of Montreal. Okay. And it would be CTV, I guess.
Like Bell Media.
Yeah, Bell Media.
Yeah. Well, here I am giving props to Bell Media for having a psychologist on staff. I think that's smart.
I think legally they have to.
Well, yeah,
it's intense. It's intense. I'm telling you, like, I saw my episode back and I saw how they edited it, and I was lucky in my edit. It was a bit more stalkerish than I would have liked. But, when you get into the swamp of this shit, you can imagine how they're going to edit you. And I would not want that. I would not want to stick around for that. And those guys are going to get that. It's already gotten very ugly. So.
Wow. Okay.
I'm good to be gone.
How many episodes is this thing?
10.
Okay. So you got through 3. Okay.
Yeah.
Is there
Yeah.
like a reunion show at the end, like where you get to show up at some kind of reunion thing?
I don't know. I think episode 3 was like, holy shit, this is the best round table ever. And
Yeah.
and the comments were like, Canada, season 2 of Traitors Canada is crazy. This is like a bunch of like messy faithfuls. This is great TV. So you never know, right? You never know. We'll see what
Well,
happens.
there are because my wife likes to watch these shows, and they always have this kind of like a reunion at the end, like a live reunion thing where you see, oh, there they are back together. Like what real? And then they ask the questions I would be asking, like, I go, Enoch, why did you turn on your friend MJ? What's going on there? And then he gets to answer that. But he's going to answer that on Toronto Mike, so don't worry about the
Yeah,
reunion.
yeah, for sure. I'll hook you up with him. He's a great guy.
Well, it's all
That'll
three of us. I want all three of us on a Zoom.
Yeah,
Once he's
that'll
allowed.
be tons of fun, and he can answer it.
Who
He's
hosts
like
this
a
show?
dog with a bone. Dog with a bone. This woman called Corinne, she's French Canadian. She's, beautiful and dramatic, and she was great. She was so fun.
Yeah, she's an
It's all over
actress.
the top. Yeah, she's an actress. It's kind of campy and, over the top.
Well, Live Famke, and she gets 2 more questions, and then we move
Oh
on
my
to the next
God.
listener. I know. Well, actually, this is her last question. I'm cutting you off, even though you're a Hall of Famer, Live.
Yeah.
Did you ever snicker to yourself about Corinne's outfits? I did. I rolled my eyes a lot.
I just was like, it was so hot in the field. It was like 100 degrees, and she had on Vivian Westwood and ball gowns. And I'm like, oh my God, that must be so gross. Because she had to be out in the sun. They had a little umbrella to protect her. But I mean, they were funny. I mean, I laughed at some of them. They were just crazy over the top. But I felt for like in this ball gown, it was 110 degrees in a dirt field. But she pulled it off. She pulled it off. So I know people love those outfits. It's a big part of the show.
Absolutely. Okay, now Leslie again. You did address this, but I feel like I owe it to Leslie to ask it again, and maybe you can just revisit it. But what do you think contributed to you being targeted at the round table?
I think what contributed to it is Enoch got paranoid and delusional. He had no foundation for it. He was wrong on everything. He thought Kira was faithful. So his radar was completely off. And his wife told me when he gets something in his head, he won't let it go. And he was like a freight train, and he didn't listen.
Right.
And he just, and then I found out some stuff like that maybe they weren't going to go for me at the round table. Yeah, so he had nothing to base it on. And he's very like, I mean, he's like an athlete, and he's very like trustworthy, and he was like getting all these guys together. And me coming out and kind of blowing things up, and then I sort of changed direction a little, brought heat on me anyway. But people did not want to vote for me. But I had to make a choice. Like, am I going to let these guys come get me and just sit there, or am I going to go after them and try and change the dynamic? And that's what I decided to do, knowing that I was going to be up for murder. So imagine if I did that show, didn't say anything that round table, and then they murder me that night. No, thank you. No, thank
No,
you.
like you said, go big or go home.
Exactly. So that's what I did.
And that's so MJ, right? Like it's like I'm good. Not only am I going to give you good TV here, but I'm going out and like shout out to John Bon Jovi. This is a blaze of glory.
Oh, it was just, peace out. I'm out of here. So I made that decision, and it paid off, because watching it back, I found out at the beginning of that episode, I was going to be up for murder. And that's my biggest fear.
Do
to be
not go
murdered.
quietly into that good night.
Thank you. So that's what I did. So I was very happy with my exit. And a lot of women I've been doing press the last couple of days, and they're like, we love that you stood up to the bros and just, blew it up. And you got to keep watching, because shit's going to really go down next episode. It's going to be a mess.
Bell Media should cut me a check. This is the greatest promotion for Traitors Season 2 you'll find outside of the Bell Media empire.
Thank you.
I'm
Really.
pausing for applause or something. I don't know what I'm waiting
Yeah,
for.
well, I'm sure the 2 people have been asking all the questions are applauding really
Well, no,
well.
more than 2 people. Come on, don't
No,
forget Peter
ask
Myers.
questions. People
Andrew
ask
Jordan.
questions.
Right.
So, but there's good mess to come. You got to keep watching, because next episode, whoa, the stuff that goes down next episode is very much related to what happened this episode, and it just blows up. So
Whoa! Shout out to Joey Lawrence. Whoa!
it's going to be great. It's going to be great. So it was a great experience. I loved it.
Well, now
Actually,
Leslie wants to know how someone can apply to be on the show. She's been inspired by your involvement. How can she be on season 3? Do you have any insight into that?
Leslie, just go to CTV because I know they put out casting calls for it. So just go to CTV or Crave and look for it. And I know they take people that way and then they reach out to people as well. So give it a shot that way and see if you can get on the show. And we can interview you next year. See
You know what I
think.
thought? Yeah, then she can come on talk. I thought you were going to say, Leslie, fucking Google it.
Leslie, fucking Google it.
So you're on. I noticed the MJ who's
What am I, your
promoting.
Traitors bitch? I don't know.
You're my only link to the show. You and Enoch. Who I'm going to have him on soon. Okay.
Yeah.
This is a good way to wind things down. Love it. I know you only have an hour because you've got to be on breakfast television or something in 5 minutes. Who knows?
I think that Kimmel's come on.
Right. You're going to go big leagues here. Okay. I think Johnny Carson's online too. Okay.
Might be.
Shout out to Ridley Funeral Home. Okay.
There you go.
YYZ Gord. In retrospect, Mary Jo, are you glad you participated on Traitors?
Yes, YYZ. That's our airport. I'm really happy I participated in it. It was really good for me and it proved my instinct right, because you don't know, right? Like I left early, but in a big way. And I know I could have gone further, I think. So you have regrets about it, to a certain extent, because you want to stay on, because, it's airtime, but you don't want boring airtime. If they don't edit you in, and I see how they're doing the edit and they just cut some players out the whole show, then like, why are you there, And I didn't want to overstay my welcome. And I've got a few regrets about things I did, like 1 or 2, but in general, I loved doing it. I think it was so out of character for me to do it. So I'm really glad I did it. I'm thrilled I did it.
Well, there's a question from Toronto Mike here. What are your regrets? You said you have a few regrets. I thought you were going to sing a Frank Sinatra song for a moment there. Shout out to Paul Anka. But what are your regrets?
I've had a few. My regrets are just at the round table.
Oh, yeah.
Because I came up blazing. And then halfway through, I'm like, the round table thinking, am I ever going to get this platform again on this show to be this, big? And should I maybe take this opportunity now to exit in a blaze of glory, right? That's what I was thinking. Or do I stay in?
Right.
And there was 1 or 2 things I think I could have said to sway the vote, because a lot of people didn't vote for me. They were voting for my friend. So in my mind, maybe I could have said something that could have changed it. So that's my regret. I didn't do that at the round table. I didn't say 1 or 2 things that I wish I had said, but then you think of it after, in the moment, it's hard. So that's my.
You made a call. I actually respect you because you made the call. Like, I'm going out in the blades of glory. And I think that's very MJ and that's very cool.
That's what I did. And I have to live with it.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, it's just a game. Like these
game.
murders, even though the psychologist is on the scene, just to let the listenership know, no one really gets murdered.
No, it's not real. But you know what really it is, truthfully, which I found interesting? It's a game against yourself. It's how you act in pressure, how you make decisions, how you show up, and you see, and like I said, I'd hate to be in episode 8 and just be slimy and swampy and gross. And I didn't get that. And I can see people are getting that. And I have no interest in that. So it was a win-win for me at the end of the day. It was great.
When I said the question was coming from YYZ Gord, who has a second question, you wanted to let the people know listening that YYZ, or YYZ, as I like to say it, is our airport. Do you think anyone's listening to this episode of Toronto Mike who does not know that YYZ is our airport?
Well, I don't know. I don't live here anymore. So I just wanted to do the shout out. I think it's cute. It's YYZ. He identifies with the airport.
Right.
That's a strong identification. So, that was kind of cute. Like, I don't do MJLAX. I don't know.
It's adorable.
Adorable.
And on previous episodes of Toronto Mike, you've been very clear. You're never going to live in Toronto again.
Well, you never know. Who knows?
But you've been very adamant. Like, you hate Toronto.
Well, the last few times I've been in Toronto, I've had a nice time.
Oh my gosh. And since I want to cross promote another episode of Senior Bitches, your fine podcast, I just want to say that David Furnish episode was unbelievable, firstly. And secondly, just the mind blow of how your childhood friends of Elton John's husband here in Toronto, like
Yeah.
just a wonderful conversation.
Yeah, I think people should revisit David Furnish.
Okay.
And Jeannie Becker's got her book coming out, and we did a great interview with her. That was beautiful. Jan Arden was
Always great.
awesome. Yeah, a couple of Jan Ardens. And Alana Stewart. I mean, we had great people. Captain Jason, the millionaire matchmaker. So people should really check it out.
Jan Arden might be God's gift to podcasts, which is why I don't need her. I can do it myself, MJ.
You say so. You and Ridley Funeral Home can definitely do it. Right?
Oh, one last note before I get to the last question here.
Yeah.
I just want you to know, MJ, while you're in Toronto, maybe this is more for your mom. Maybe I should have you put your mom on. But if your mom's got like a drawer or a closet full of old cables, old electronics, old devices, I don't want your mom throwing that in the garbage because those chemicals end up in our landfill. I want your mom to go to recyclemyelectronics.ca, find out where there's a place near her. She can drop that off to be properly recycled.
Okay, I'll tell her right now. I'll let her know.
Put her on. I have a message for her.
I'll let her know. She's having a martini. I'll let her know.
You're right. It's still morning. It's still
it doesn't matter.
Martini time. Okay. Shaken, not stirred. Okay. What was your favorite experience? So the time you spent in Quebec filming Traitors season 2, now available on Crave. What was your favorite experience?
Oh, and people, please go to my Instagram, Mary Jo Eustace, and follow me, please. And I also
Absolutely.
have a Substack called Senior Bitches, which is great. And it's free. You can always upgrade to paid, but it's real. I tell lots of secrets there about lots of things. My favorite, I think that my favorite parts of Traitors were in the car, and connecting with people and doing the challenges because we, as a group, I love that, and look, it's like, don't judge a book by its cover, because you suss people out and you think this, that, and the other. Then you get to know them and their stories, and it's a whole different ball game. So just unraveling all the different people and getting to know them. And it was like summer camp for adults. So I really enjoyed it, but I loved working as a team. When we worked as a team, that was really fun.
And who from this show will you still be friends with in 1 year's time?
I think Kirkland, Dylan, I really like Gail. I love Enoch. I think those guys probably the most.
In Enoch's defense, that heel turn there, I just want to remind you that he was a professional football player. There might be a CTE at play here, so I don't want to laugh at that. That's a very serious thing, but that might have explained this turn against our MJ.
You can ask him. Boy, is he regretting it. Heartbreaking. It was heartbreaking.
To be discussed on Toronto Mike. Absolutely. Now, as we say goodbye, MJ, you're lovely. Thanks for inviting me for a Starbucks coffee or something while you're in my city.
You're welcome. I hope you enjoyed it.
But now that you've got all this like exposure and people are like rediscovering MJ and Senior Bitches and your persona, how do you leverage this? Like, what's next? I feel like there's something bigger now looming for MJ, that she's got all this press.
I think so. Like, I do want to have people come back to Senior Bitches, our podcast, for sure. That's really important. And I actually have 2 shows that I'm working on, and in the next few months I'll know if they go. One, which would be so fun, and one would be around aging and traveling and meeting and interviewing people. So I'm working hard on that, but we'll come back to the podcast, the Substack Senior Bitches, and stuff is just starting to filter through again, which is great. And then you can go to Amazon and watch What's for Dinner, Prime, Prime Canada, and you can see what's for dinner. So do that. That's a good start, don't you think?
Well, Bob Willett says hot dogs are for dinner and breakfast.
I can still visualize him eating a hot dog at 5:30 in the morning.
And also, I got a text from him. He says, with all these new shows that are in development that might be happening for you, you got a job for him? He's unemployed, so he needs a gig.
Yeah, I'll look into that. For sure. I will.
Mary Jo Eustace, always a pleasure. Love talking to you.
Thank you. Well, we're going to get together soon. I'll put a word in for you with Jan, and let's get together and do more episodes. I'm compiling some guests now because we love doing it. It's the best.
And that brings us to the end of our 1,562nd show. You can go to torontomike.com to follow me. I'm all over social media, but it sounds like Instagram is the place you go to follow Mary Jo Eustace. So go do that right now, and then subscribe to her Substack, and then subscribe to Senior Bitches, and then come back here when you're done. Okay. Much love to all who made this possible. Again, that's Great Lakes Brewery. Listen to Between Two Fermenters, their fine podcast. Palma Pasta, they're hosting us November 30th from noon to 3 at Palma's Kitchen. Everyone who can hear me is invited. Free food, free drink. Come by. We're recording live. RecycleMyElectronics.ca. Raymond James Canada. Moneris, Season 7, dropping now. Yes, we are open. And Ridley Funeral Home. See you all tomorrow when we record Toast. We're kicking out Harvest Jams with Rob Pruce and Hot Dog Lovin', Proud FM program director, but apparently not gay. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Bob Willett. See you all then.